Working. Now, what I would have said if I was inviting Jim up, I would say that whilst I've known Jim a long time, I didn't know him very well until the other day when we sat down and had a chat, and he's even more amazing than I thought. And if there's a South Australian Motorsport Hall of Fame, this car should probably be in it. And because Jim drives it, we need to have a chat with him about it. Jim, what got you into motorsport?
Bob Collinson, actually.
Bloody hell.
Met him over in Tasmania, and he wanted to go rallying, so we went rallying. And then I think I bought an MGA at one stage.
Oh, you can't talk about that. I've got to ask you about
that. Oh, okay. That's how I got into it, Bob.
Oh, Bob. Okay. Now, Bob's a Tasmanian.
No. Bob's a New South Welshman.
Okay.
We met in Tassie.
Okay. Right. And you're a Scot.
I'm a Scot.
Okay. Now, we'll just establish the ground rules here. So, okay. So did you have an MGA twin cam at some stage?
Yes, I did have an MGA twin cam at one stage. I blew up more motors in that. I think I had that.
I don't think you actually raced it, did you? Broke it on the way to the track a couple of times?
No, that was in Tassie. I blew it up twice, once going down to Longford and once going to Simmons Plains. But I did actually race it here in Adelaide, Mellar. That was the first meeting in 1968 when you, first time you ever drove as well, I think.
And Bob.
And Bob.
Yes. The three amigos. We never spoke again after that. No, we were in different categories. Is there any truth in the story that at one stage the MGA was fitted with an extra oil pump and a tank of oil to pump oil into the engine to maintain the oil level at a race meeting?
How would you find that out? We went to Winton, and the trouble with the MGA twin cam is it was very heavy on oil, chuck oil everywhere. So we actually put a pump in there in the glove box or side compartment, gallon of oil, and then we just pumped it in all the time. The trouble is I forgot to turn it off one time. And we got black flagged for oil pouring out everywhere.
I believe every now and again they go out with cement and just chuck it on the track to soak that up. So you had the MJ, and then you had a car called the BBM.
Bloody big monster.
Yep.
Maple Bridge Motors Special. Yeah, Holden engine, monoposto, similar looking to a Ferrari 250F. When we originally had it, it had a the back end was Holden made into fully independent. But I kept blowing it up and it was hell because every now and again you'd have a half shaft come flying past your ear. And I decided that was no good, so we put a swing axle out of a boardboard in it. And that proved to be quite reliable. The only trouble is you had to remember to put the left-hand axles on the left-hand side and the right-hand axles on the right-hand side. Otherwise it'd unwind the bolts and the thing would just spread out and become a very wide car. And you'd have no brakes. That happened to me once.
And that'd probably worth a lot of money if you had it today.
It's being restored at the moment.
Yeah, we might see it on the track at the next Melbourne Historic meeting, perhaps.
Hopefully.
And then the next car in your stable was a Lotus 7, which was a race/road car.
Yes. Started out as a road car. It had been raced prior to me buying it. I don't know how successfully. We raced it for about 3 years, 4 years. We ran it in Malala. I think the best I ever got, I think we got 5th outright in the Sports Car Championship at about 90.
I've got all the details.
Oh, you got all the details.
Yeah,
right.
but I promise we won't mention any of them.
Okay, right.
And you've still got the...
Yeah, we still got the 7. Drive it to work. I used to drive it to work all the time, but now I've retired, I don't drive it to work. It's on historic rego, gets used mainly by the grandkids. When the grandkids come over, they take it out for a thrash round. We've got a football oval at home, and they take it for a thrash round the football oval. There's probably a few purists who'd be a bit upset about it, but the kids enjoy it.
Well, they're meant to be driven, weren't they? Yeah. Now there's a car on the stage that's the motor. I think everyone knows it as the Motor Lab Asp.
That's exactly what it is. Motor Lab Asp.
Yep.
Tom Galbraith helped me buy it back in 1972. And at that stage, he did my sponsor for through the BBM days and the Lotus days. And yeah, well, he helped me get the car going.
Yeah, there were three guys. There's Bob and Mark Peacock and Tom Galbraith that were a big part of, or have been a big part of your life.
That's correct. That's correct. Well, if it wasn't for Bob, I wouldn't have been in motor racing, and if it wasn't for Mark Peacock, we certainly would not be as competitive as we are.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Mark that said you can train a monkey, but you need someone to really know how to get the car to go fast. And tell us about Mark Peacock on the trailer.
Oh yeah, well Mark was working at Motor Lab and decided he'd go into business on his own. So he came to me one day and said, "Look, I need something to tide me over. Can I build you a trailer? You pay mates rates. I can't remember. I think it was about $10 an hour or something." And so I got this trailer. I've still got the damn trailer. He also made it into a horse load as well. So it was quite an interesting little concept.
Excellent, a clever man. Now the ASP piece of history, like yourself, and a one owner.
Yes, genuine one owner car.
Okay. You bought it brand new.
Bought it brand new. It's only been driven by about 5 other people. Bob Colson's driven it. Dean
Very
Hoskins,
slowly.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Dean Hoskins driven it.
Yep.
Geez,
Geez, you're generous.
Stub axle broke.
Okay.
And Dave Walsh.
Okay, yeah.
Dave Walsh drove it. I was going to lend it to him when I went overseas, but
David here?
Yeah. He did
There he is, yeah.
He did a couple of laps and came back and said, "I don't like it."
Now, Jim, you've missed 3 Malala race meetings in 42 years.
Three South
Sorry,
Australians.
because the AIR was there for a while, wasn't it? Are you in a rut?
Not because I'm missing 3.
Why did you just have a slack moment a couple of times?
Twice I was overseas with work, couldn't do much about that. And then 2 years ago I had shingles and got them on about 3 days before the race meeting, so couldn't do anything about even organising someone else to drive the car. I didn't have enough time, wasn't well enough.
Yeah.
So 3 meetings in
42 years, yeah. Or 43, yeah. That's got to be a record, doesn't it? And you've won the multiple CAMS Driver of the Year awards, Gary Cooper Memorials, later Historic Series, and you have a few lap records around the place. How good is the ASP? 792 races.
Yes, that's not bad. And we've only ever had 48 DNFs in that many races.
Yeah.
And most of those were caused by spark plug leads falling off. Stupid shit like that. Which happens to everyone.
Yeah, of course. And it's you must keep some records because your blurb tells me that it's done in excess of 25,000 kilometres, race kilometres.
Yep, that's correct. That's really well.
That's a lot. I was impressed. I don't know. That sounds like a long way in a car, doesn't it? You know, yeah.
And never off the bitumen.
Yep.
Well.
Never off the bitumen. And your lap times that you're doing these days, you reckon you've still got it?
Well, back when that was the class of car, we had the lap record of 14.6.
Races.
2 years ago, we're chasing Peter Wheeler. We got down to 13.3. I couldn't quite pass the bastard, but I tried to keep him honest.
Okay, yeah, you over the years, and Peter may be an exception, but you would have encountered some pretty fierce competitors. Bernie Van Nelson, you
Bernie, yeah. Bernie was one of my favourites. I hope you don't mind me mentioning the fact that in one race I beat him by 2 1,000ths of a second. The next race they declared a dead heat. So that was phenomenal. So I used to love, because I could pass him on the outside going around the wall at Adelaide, and then he'd out-accelerate me down the straight, and I could just hold him to the finish line.
Yeah.
And I think on one race I actually beat him by going across the line backwards. But I lost it.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned this to you earlier. Now, this may or may not be true. So perhaps we'll talk about Ian Ross first. Ian Ross is a guy that you've raced with on more than one occasion, and at Easter time he drove the Beatrice Lola at Mallala, and he wasn't quite as quick as you.
Well, he was quicker eventually, but he wasn't quick all the time.
No, he wasn't.
And what am I supposed to say? He ran into me, or
I've seen the video. Jim circulated the video of the incident very quickly to everybody because there were aspersions cast, and it was just an unfortunate thing, and it was clearly all his fault.
He actually didn't even realise how it had happened. He didn't. There was not a single mark on his car because he moved across on. He moved across on me, and my front wheel hit his back wheel, and just ripped my wheel off the car. And it only left a couple of tiny little marks on his car. And so he was wandering around, wondering what the hell had happened. He said, "Oh, you must have run straight at the back of me." I said, "No." Anyway, we're still the best of friends.
Yes. Well, you've got to be, don't you? And you've always been renowned as a pretty fierce competitor. You get the most out of the car. And you don't normally let people go past, but at Easter time we had a little bit of because I've got a car a bit like Jim's. It's got a wheel on, 2 wheels in the front, 2 wheels in the back, and a low and goes fast. And you actually let me pass you at one stage. You reckon it'll never happen again?
After that it won't happen again,
No.
that's for sure. I just decided that, it wasn't Easter anyway, I don't think it was.
Round one. Yeah, round one, of course, yes.
Yeah, I just decided that, I'd like to make him go a bit faster, so I thought I'd do a bit of carrot for him.
Yeah, no, that was good.
You got to look after these old bastards sometimes.
Well, when you come into a category at, like me, late 50s, you probably do need a little bit of encouragement. Yeah. No, and they're a good bunch of guys. Probably maybe worth saying. I bought this car in January from my car from a chap called Peter Turner, who bought a faster one, but he's caught on fire, and so I've got a car and he hasn't. Now, just getting back to the aspect of it, Jim, because I'm sure a lot of people like to have a look at it when we have a break. But it's had a few, it's changed, not changed gender, but it's changed categories a couple of times, hasn't it?
Okay.
And engines.
Right. When we first started racing, it had a Ford motor in it, but that kept getting destroyed because I think I went through 9 Ford motors in 3 years. Since we put the sleeker motor in, we've probably only done about 4 blocks in, and that's in another 40 years. It was 1600 sleek, and then for a while there, because of some of the people with NORACs and everything going so fast, I put a 2 litre in it. And then when it became old enough to be historic, we got it done historic so that I could run the 1600 for historic meetings and put the 2 litre back in for open meetings.
Right.
But now we just run with the 1600 because it's too hard to put bigger motors in.
Yeah. And it seems like it might be just fast enough as it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I went up to have a chat with Jim the other day in his little bloody piece of paradise up at Scott Creek, and Jim and Sandy live in what used to be the Norwood Football Club summer residence club rooms. Would that describe it?
That would be right, yes.
Yeah, so hence the football oval and the smell of liniment. No, that's not it. Tell us about the property.
Well, it was the summer training ground for the Norwood Football Club, and so it's got a football oval, and we train horses for riding purposes, not for racing or anything like that. So it's pretty good to have that track out there. Is any of the Millers here? No, well, Malcolm Miller's granddaughter comes for lessons with my wife.
Okay. Yeah.
She comes up here and has a lesson every now and again. We run cows, we run sheep, we run chooks. We run ourselves mad.
Yep.
We've
got a herd of dogs running around the place.
Yes, we've got a herd of dogs. The trouble is one of them decided, or 2 of them decided to take on the kangaroo. Kangaroo 1, dog 0. The dog got its guts opened up. It's sitting at home at the moment, which is why I've got to get home pretty early because it sort of spends all night wandering around bleeding everywhere. Our place looks like a crime scene.
But a little piece of heaven. And you, well, hell, or whatever. You actually are an accomplished. I mean, Sandy's a lot better than you, but you write a bit too.
That's correct. I got into writing when I was 40. The daughter left home, so I got straight into one-day eventing, which is like what they do around the Adelaide thing. But the highest I ever got to was one level below the lowest level they run there, so never very competitive. And then when I got too old for that, mainly because I couldn't get a horse fast enough, I took up dressage, and I've stopped doing that at the moment, mainly because the wife hasn't got a horse, so it's no use going to an event on my own. But she's just we're retraining one now for her to start competing on, so I'll probably be out there doing dressage again.
What about the story about the horse that was the chiropractor that fixed your neck?
Yeah, back in the early days, I had of the ass, probably in about the second year we had it, I had a mishap, and Bill O'Gorman spun in front of me, and I went straight to the wall, 90 mile an hour, head on. So the car shortened by about 6 feet, and that's all we did. I ended up with a severe, very, very severe whiplash. And from then on, every time after a race, I could hardly walk or do anything. And then I started wearing a neck brace for all racing, and so that problem was all resolved, sort of, except I couldn't ever turn my head. Like that. Whereas I
thought you were just being a bit of a snob, actually.
Well, the wife had an eventer, which was an old racehorse, or not an old racehorse, a young racehorse, which we were trying to get over jumps. But I was out there one day, and we've got a cross-country course at home on this block of land, so I was belting along at a full gallop. So that's, 35, 40 mile an hour. And it stopped suddenly, but it stopped such, well, I didn't go flying out the window, because it actually stopped bum down. So I just got pushed into the front of into the saddle, but my head kept going. And I saw stars, and I thought, this is it, I'm dead. Then, so my head got stretched enormously by a sudden stop. It's the exact opposite to a race car crash.
Yeah, it's remarkable. That'd be amazing. So what next?
What next?
Yeah, horses or... Sorry, I'm a bit of a.
We're going to keep motor racing as long as possible.
Yep.
And we'll keep horse riding as long as possible. In fact, that's what, at the moment the horses we've got are a bit smaller than they used to be. We were riding 16, 17 hand horses. They're now down to 15 hands, which is a lot smaller anyway. And mainly so we can get on when we're too old and decrepit to get all the horses.
So it's probably likely you'll be able to race longer than you'll be able to ride, I guess.
Don't know.
No.
The only thing that'll stop me racing is if I get too slow.
Yes, that's true.
Or stop enjoying it. I think I'll stop enjoying when I get too slow.
Yeah, I think that's how it works, yeah. So you still get a buzz out of it, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
No, fantastic. Well, thanks, Jim. I'd like to ask a question of Mr. Doigan about how you can stay in the same car for so long. John.
Okay, good to see you here, Jim. Now, the tournaments, there's a lifespan because of deterioration, and the seats, they've got a lifespan and seatbelts. What about the rest of the cars? Is it a lifespan?
Yes, it's got a lifespan. It's been, well, we won't say restored. It's been rebuilt on 3 occasions. Because on 3 occasions we have had mishaps which have caused severe chassis damage. So we have done those, but we've rebuilt it in the space of between meetings. So it's been pretty quick jobs, but it has been totally rebuilt on 3 occasions.
Like grandfather's axe or?
Oh, definitely grandfather's axe. There's a couple of bits there which are identical, but I can't remember which ones.
Jim, I think you bought a chamois. That's the cleanest part.
No, I think someone washed it when it was down here.
The detailers were here about 5 o'clock. That just yeah.
Put it this way, the last race meeting was wet, so I counted that as its wash.
Anyone else? Well, thank you. It just kind of, it still staggers me that you're still doing this after all this time.
In the
Just amazing. In the same car. Bloody extraordinary.
I'm not going to change on the grounds I know where things are.
Edley, you've had enough? Okay, let's... Thank you. Thanks very much.